My mouth shall speak of wisdom, and my heart shall meditate on understanding. I will incline my ear to a proverb and set forth my riddle upon the harp. Please be seated. I want to begin my time with you this morning by thanking you. This has been a wonderful opportunity to get to know you and to get to know this holy place. And I am very grateful for you wearing name tags. I've learned a little bit about my learning needs, and that has been extremely helpful. I also want to thank you for smiling when you might notice some bumps or glitches in the liturgy. And I want to thank you for embracing me and giving me so much grace. I've loved the chance to be with you and to walk alongside you as together we try to follow Jesus. In a short time, your beloved Dean Tom will be returning to you, and I know you have been saving up every question, every concern, every need that you can imagine for the last 4 months. But I'm going to ask you to give Tom grace. I know he's been away and he's been resting, but even when you've been on a luxurious time of learning and rest, there takes a few minutes for you to re-enter. He's going to need to find where everything is in his desk because he cleaned it all out for me. He's probably going to need to look for where things are hidden around the office because since he's been gone, we may have moved some things. And so, while I know this time has been a great gift from this community to him and it has been restorative, I ask you to be kind and to be patient and welcome him. It'll be good for him and it will be good for you. Sometimes when I open up these lectionaries on a Monday morning, they leave me scratching my head trying to figure out what in the world the planners intended when they put these readings together. But this morning, there is little confusion. The scriptures all point to one theme: the vanity of greed and hoarding, and the tragedy of placing all our value and energy into the acquisition of things. As Ecclesiastes says, all vanities of vanities, all are vanities. Now, it's not an easy topic because from my earliest childhood, I was taught that money was not to be discussed in polite company. But these readings from Ecclesiastes, Colossians, and the Gospel according to Luke all engage a topic that can be uncomfortable for most, if not all of us. It stands against all that we have steeped in our lives. To support our country, we must support our economy. That means go shopping. I remember the President of the United States standing in the ashes of the World Trade Center, and he said in order to not let the terrorists win, we needed to go shopping. Acquiring possessions has never been easier. All we need is a phone and a computer, a credit card, a debit card, a bank account, and whatever we could possibly imagine can be delivered right to our front door. Every moment of every day, advertisements seduce us with the newest clothing, the best technology, more efficient gadgets, items that claim to make us safer, healthier, more beautiful, etc. And these advertisers know right where we live. They employ cutting-edge psychological research. They know where to place their products. They know how to package their products. I love the fact that a pink deodorant costs more than a blue deodorant. I will never figure out what that all means, but I'll let you all sit with it. And all these primal messages that seem to tell us that without these products, our access to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is denied. So it's easy to fall into this bottomless trap of believing that all we need to be more is to have more. You know, retail therapy. I'm sad, I'm going shopping. I'm celebrating, I'm going shopping. I need a change, I'm going shopping. The late comedian George Carlin had a reputation for being salty, but his stand-up performances were also characterized by brilliant social satire and an acute sense of the power of language to lampoon reality. In one monologue, Carlin depicts the obsessive accumulation of material things and the modern anxiety for which it is both the cause and the result. You got your stuff with you? Sure you do. Men have pockets. Women stuff it in their purses. Stuff is important. You got to take care of your stuff. You got to have a place for your stuff. That's what life is all about, trying to find a place for your stuff. That's actually all your house is, a place to keep your stuff. If you didn't have so much stuff, you wouldn't need a house. You could just walk around. A house is just a pile of stuff with a cover on it. You can see it when you go up in the airplane. You can look down and see all the little piles of stuff. Everybody has his own little pile of stuff. Jesus' parable in this week's reading from Luke portrays this trap of stuff. Standing in a boisterous crowd, a man calls out to Jesus to intervene in dividing fairly his inheritance. Jesus has been teaching his followers about what they must do to be courageous in a time of danger as they walk toward Jerusalem. But this man's interests are different. He wants to make sure that he has a just settlement. Jesus warns him, take care. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist of the abundance of possessions. And this is when Jesus tells the parable of the rich man with the abundant harvest, who decides he must tear down his barns to build larger ones to hold all his stuff. Jesus allows us to hear the man's inner reasoning as he says to himself, what should I do? For I have no place to store my crops. Then he says, I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grains and my goods. As Carlin puts it going on, so now you have a house full of stuff. And even though you like your house, you got to move. Got to get a bigger house. Why? Too much stuff. And that means you got to move all your stuff. Or maybe you could put some of your stuff in storage. Storage. Imagine that. There's a whole industry based on keeping an eye on other people's stuff. At this point, the rich man relaxes into his plan when he says, and I will say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry. So now the higher capacity barns will provide the security that will allow his soul to relax. He will be able to be secure and not having to worry about anything. Indeed, today we have a storage industry, an anxiety industry, and a decluttering industry, all directed towards making it possible for us to relax, eat, drink, be merry, while continuing to buy and accumulate and store and declutter and repeat. But the space and time problem becomes moot as God informs him that that night he will die. He won't be keeping his stuff. No minced words, no gentleness, you fool. This very night, your life is being demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? All this accumulation. Vanity of vanities. Now, for those of us with children and grandchildren, our death may be tragic for us, but we could believe that we will leave behind a legacy for those we love. Stuff. and more stuff. As one 20-year-old woman looked around my house and said, "Yeah, my generation doesn't want brown furniture." I thought, that's all I have. I don't. But we are learning that this legacy of accumulating possessions, of building bigger barns, is not the one we expect. For this parable has even deeper meaning for us today in the 21st century. This parable moves beyond simply a warning to check our priorities of how we spend our time and our energy, of the importance of being grateful for life and all that we have that comes simply as gift from our loving God. No, for too long, we have consumed to the point that our earth is being destroyed. In many places, production and extraction is leading to the overheating of the planet that is resulting in horrendous climate events across our world. Fires are burning in Yellowstone. In the Appalachian area, record floods are destroying people's lives. Heat waves throughout this country and throughout Europe are causing vast loss of life, and the extinction of thousands of species are the result of greed and thoughtless accumulating. Our oceans are overwhelmed with the plastics that contain our products. You know, these plastics are made by burning chemicals, oil, and gas, and they find their way into fish, they find their way into animals, and they're finding their way into our bodies. Wise and rapid decisions must be made to prevent further destruction, even the end of human life. You fool. This very night, your life is being demanded of you. And the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So this parable is a call to truly examine how the ways we live and the amounts we consume is threatening this beautiful earth, our island home. What is our role in caring for creation? What is our responsibility to be thoughtful caretakers in this life? God gave us this beautiful and miraculous place. What are we to do in the time that we have been given to ensure that we leave a place where our children not only can live simply, but can simply live? Rather than sharing his abundance with neighbors and strangers in need, the rich man chose to build more barns. In listening to this story today, we're aware how misguided this rich man's logic was, but we too, I too, am trapped in this same cycle of acquiring and consuming, building and storing. Jesus calls us all to see that life is not about stuff. And it's not even about accumulating enough so our anxiety and our fear are diminished. When the man interrupts Jesus to intervene in his inheritance dispute, Jesus has just told his followers 5 sparrows can be bought for 2 copper coins, yet God does not forget them. The very hair on your head, God counts them all. Do not fear. You matter. Jesus is no killjoy. Jesus does not deny our need to relax and eat and drink and be merry. Jesus wants us all to enjoy abundant life. And Jesus calls us to love God and to love our neighbor. And this includes our choices about greed and accumulating stuff. In loving God and in loving our neighbor, our choices about greed and consumption matter. Part of this story that Jesus comes to tell us is that God wants so much more for us than simply more stuff. God wants us to know life. God wants us to rejoice in nature. God wants us to love mercy and to care for all in this world. Jesus, who warns us against greed, invites us to trust that God, who cares for the sparrow, who counts the hair on our heads, intends for us to have abundance and to live so that all may have lives of abundance. And God wants us to choose life in a way that allows all, the sparrow, the bat, to live. The poet Wendell Berry puts it this way: if we will have the wisdom to survive, to stand like slow-growing trees on a ruined place, renewing, enriching it. If we will make our seasons welcome here, asking not too much of earth or heaven, then a long time after we are dead, the lives our lives prepare will live here. Their houses strongly placed upon the valley sides, fields and gardens rich in the windows. The river will run clear as we never know it, and over it birdsong like a canopy. On the level of the hills will be green meadows, stock bells and noon shade. On the steeps where greed and ignorance cut down the old forest, an old forest will stand, its rich leaf fall drifting on its roots. The veins of forgotten springs will have opened. Families will be singing in the fields. In their voices they will hear a music risen out of the ground. They will take nothing from the ground. They will not return, whatever the grief at parting. Memory native to this valley will spread over it like a grove, and memory will grow into legend, legend into song, song into sacrament. The abundance of this place, the song of its people and its birds will be health and wisdom and indwelling light. This is no paradisal dream. Its hardship is its possibility. Amen.